Om Ajnanaतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखावितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण Shashwin, how are you?
Mataji,
Danvatana.
fine, thank you.
Would you like to continue with Om Namah
Yes.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya?
Yes, Mataji.
Narayan Namaskrityam, and then text 14, and then today's text.
Okay, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim
Nashtapraya Tato
Tato Jayamudidayet Nasya Prayesvabhadreshu Nittam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna.
today's shloka.
Shraddhada Tasya Vasudevagata Rusi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Shashwin. Would anybody like to read the word-to-word translation and purport? Soni Mataji, Peter Muli, Prabhuji, Arya Govinda, Prabhuji. Anybody would like to read?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
The verse number is 1.2.16 no Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Just a second.
Maybe I can start till you find.
Yeah. Please.
So I'm reading the word to word. Shrushusho. one who is engaged in hearing.
one who is engaged in hearing.
Shraddhadanasya,
Shraddhadanasya,
with care and attention.
with care and attention.
Vasudeva,
Vasudeva,
in respect to Vasudev.
in respect to Vasudeva.
Katha,
Katha,
the message.
the message.
Ruchi,
Ruchi,
affinity.
affinity.
Swat,
Shat
Yat
is made possible.
is made possible.
Mahat Sevaya,
Mahat Sevaya,
by service rendered to pure devotees.
by service rendered to pure devotees.
Vipraha,
Praha,
O twice born.
twice
O twice born.
Punya Tirtha,
Punya Tirtha,
those who are cleansed of all vice.
those who are against of all vice.
Nishevanat,
Nishevanat.
Hare Krishna. I'll read the translation and then Prabhuji, you can read the purport. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah.
O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. The conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. There are men called devas or godly living beings, and there are men called asuras or demons who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, a vivid description of the asuras is given, in which it is said that the asuras are put into lower and lower states of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. These asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the supreme will. Such devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord. And when they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as powerful incarnations of the Lord. As sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord, but none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is a blasphemy declared by the asuras. And the demoniac followers of such asuras are also accept pretenders as God or his incarnation. In the revealed scriptures, there is a definite information of the incarnation of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to a particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself according to the indication of the revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears and with hands and chant the name of Lord Vishnu. He strongly protested against being called God, although undoubtedly he was God himself. The Lord behaves so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. Can I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, if you...
Okay. The servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord and so are very dear to the Lord. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita 18.69 that no one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of the Lord, glories of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for reading the purport. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, thank you for joining us and giving your time. Prabhuji, we are on Canto 1, Chapter 2, and text 16. Prabhuji, we have read the text and the translation and purport, and now we are handing over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I offer my respect to all the assembled Vaishnavas. ISKCON Gaur Bhakta Vrindas Ki Jai. So we are continuing our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have heard in reply to the questions of the sages, what is the highest good and how can that highest good be attained? And the answer was that we should hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This text, very, very important information. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So we have learned so far that it is the process of hearing about Krishna and the science of God that will take us back to the spiritual world. It's one thing if someone were to tell us somewhere in Kenya there is $5 million. So that's interesting information, that somewhere on some mountain there is $5 million. But if we're not able to know where that mountain is, and if it's difficult to climb the mountain, we might as well not know about it, because what's the use? To know about something which is very valuable and then not be able to have it, that's very sad. So this text, by serving the great devotees completely freed from all vice, one gets a taste. Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. Srila Prabhupada ends this purport, focusing on this point, that it is by rendering service to the pure devotees that Krishna blesses us with a taste, with a feeling of happiness, with enthusiasm within our heart for hearing about Krishna or chanting our japa. In the beginning of devotional service, this Bhakti Yoga. The first part is Bhaiti Bhakti. We follow the rules and regulations, understanding that this will lead us forward. And we don't always like to do it. That's very true. We don't always feel like it, but we do it anyways, just as we do so many things, whether we feel like it or not. If we have to cook, we cook. whether it's hot or cold, whether we have a headache or not. We cook. We have to do what needs to be done. So this is Bhaiti Bhakti, which begins with some shraddha or faith that this is very good for me. And I want to do this. So here is a very valuable, incredibly valuable piece of information, because it would be nice to have more and more spontaneous desire, so that when we wake up in the morning, we can't wait to chant our japa and take care of our deity and to hear about Krishna. That's not always the case. So Srila Prabhupada discusses in the purport how we are fallen because of being rebellious against God, and Krishna sends different pure devotees, empowered servants all over the world, such as Jesus Christ and other prophets who speak about devotion to God, and they speak according to what the people of the area can understand. Both Lord Buddha and Jesus, they told their disciples, we would tell you more, but you cannot understand it. They said that. It is there in the history. There's more I could explain to you, but you can't understand it right now. So Lord Buddha, he focused upon simply being a good person, not killing animals, being clean, being moral. And Jesus Christ also, it's the main focus, to be a good person. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Because without good character, as we have discussed in previous classes, without good character, it's not possible to understand Krishna very much, what to speak of being devoted to him. So Srila Prabhupada makes the point, just as it's made in this text, that he says, the servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself, but he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears. He strongly protested against being called God. So some of us may know there are certain teachers of spirituality who tell us that we are God. They say, you are God, I am God, we are all God, the goat is God, the married woman is God. It doesn't matter what we do because we're all God. If the goat God is in my belly, what's the difference? So of course, this is very hellish, crazy thinking. It's actually almost insane. And we may ask, well, how is it that teachers, and some of them seem to do so much good work, could think such a crazy thing? That's what Maya means, to think something which isn't true. So although they may do so much social work and medical care and feeding the poor, these persons who teach that we're all God, they are horribly, horribly teaching something which is false. That's the nature of this material world. There can be Maya, illusion. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to say, the servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord. So at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, Lord Krishna says that in this world there is no one more dear to me than those who teach this science of bhakti, and there never will be anyone more dear. And for those who teach this secret of bhakti, pure devotion is guaranteed, and they will return home back to Godhead. So very, very dear to Krishna, and anyone who is, Krishna says, not only my pure devotees, but those who are servants of my pure devotees, they're also very dear to me. Anyone who is trying to help propagate God consciousness is certainly worthy of our respect. And according to the degree of their devotion, their purity, service to such devotees, Srila Prabhupada points out, is more dear than trying to serve Krishna directly. In the Adi Purana, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, he says, those who say that they are my devotees are not. But those who say they are the devotees of my devotee, those are my real devotees. Sometimes in the beginning of devotion, people pay more attention to the deity, which is good. It is good to respect Krishna. But a higher understanding, some more detail, is that almost if we are offering arti to the deity in the temple, and a very advanced creature of Krishna consciousness comes in, we should almost get off the altar and take care of that devotee. We must pay equal attention, if not more, to Vaishnav Seva. Lord Shiva tells Parvati in the Shiva Purana that of all types of worship, the worship of Lord Vishnu is the highest. But higher than that is worship of Lord Vishnu's devotee. And in the Catholic religion, there is the concept of what's called an intercessionary. Intercession, someone who, on our behalf, just like you may, like the prime minister. So if we know someone, some businessman or some political person who is friendly with the prime minister, they can intercede. They can go between us and the prime minister with some request. We may not be able to meet with the prime minister, but our friend that we know may be able to intercede. So this is the understanding that actually it is very rare that any of us can directly approach Krishna very much. Of course, we are part of him and he recognizes us. But as Lord Krishna says, those who are especially affectionate to me and are very much devoted to me, I am very much affectionate to them. So this makes good sense. So by pleasing those devotees who are more dear to Krishna than us, who have caught Krishna's attention more than us, by pleasing them, Krishna will be very, very happy with us. Very happy. And it is not just the spiritual master or previous pure devotees, but any devotee who has faith in Krishna, whatever we can do to be of assistance to that devotee will please Krishna. And even more so, according to the devotion that the devotee has. So the spiritual master and preachers of Krishna consciousness are especially dear to Krishna. So we can please them by helping them in whatever they're doing. Of course, what they're doing is Krishna's work. So whatever we can do, if we read Srila Prabhupada's letters to his disciples, sometimes in his lectures, he would express great gratefulness. He was always saying, thank you so much for assisting me to maintain this ISKCON society and to expand it. He was so very grateful. And once in Hawaii, it is written, there was some discussion with devotees, and he said, this ISKCON, it is me. It is me. You want to massage my foot? Then do what you can to maintain and expand this society. So the bottom line, we talk about takeaways, is that whatever we can do to maintain and assist this ISKCON society, the preaching of Krishna consciousness, is direct service to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And this verse says that by such devotion, we will be blessed with more inner enthusiasm, and we will enjoy chanting Hare Krishna and singing in Kirtan and serving Krishna. That is a reciprocation of Krishna. We can understand in a general way, if we ask the question, am I pleasing my spiritual master? Then we can ask ourselves, how much enthusiasm, how much interest do I have to hear about Krishna and to chant Hare Krishna? In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says in the 10th chapter, Tesham satatam yuktanam vachatam priti purvakam didami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantate. To those who are devoted to me with love and devotion, I give them the intelligence by which to come to me. So we want to become dear to the pure devotees. We want to become favored by our spiritual master. We want to become dear to all the pure devotees of the Lord, just like we have Tulsi Puja. Very, very important part of devotional life is to offer respect and worship Tulsi, her representation of Tulsi in this world. She is a pure devotee, and by offering her respect and circumambulating and offering water, flowers, this is service to the pure devotee. And we can ask her favor to give us her shelter and to help us in our devotion. And previous spiritual masters. Srila Prabhupada encouraged prayers to his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, because the grandfather is often more generous than one's father. Usually a grandfather is very interested to give to the grandchildren. He has a tendency often to spoil them. So there are many pure devotees, and each of us may find a particular attraction or feeling of devotion. Another way of serving, Srila Prabhupada instructed us, is to follow his instructions. To follow the instructions of our spiritual master is to serve him. The other side of the coin is that to the extent that we make offenses to any devotee, that we speak to them rudely or harshly, their feelings are hurt, or God forbid, physically. Increasingly, according to the devotion of that devotee, Krishna will discipline us by taking away our taste. And depending upon the willfulness of our offense to the devotee, we will be disciplined. Sometimes devotees ask, well, why did this devotee fall away? They were a devotee for 15, 20, 10 years. What happened? And almost always it is because of offenses. Somehow the devotee hurt the feelings of another devotee or their spiritual master. And if one does that repeatedly, then Krishna will discipline us so that we learn not to do that. Sometimes devotees fall away into crazy activities and they suffer. And they learn not to do that again. I will be much more careful how I especially with my spiritual master and advanced devotees or any devotee. Now the question may be asked that I'm a manager or I'm a parent or a teacher. And sometimes the situation is such that I have to point out some mistake or some error that another devotee is involved in. And the devotee may become upset. But if that is our responsibility, Krishna knows that. It's like if we are a temple manager or a parent or a mentor. So those kinds of hurt feelings or a devotee becoming upset because of our speaking or the way we deal with them, that's not taken so seriously by Krishna. I don't want to say the fault, but Krishna understands that's a problem on the devotee side. If our child gets upset when we discipline them, that's not our fault. So we don't have to be paranoid that I can't speak up or manage other devotees. But of course, we do that as Krishna consciously as possible. We try to be polite and say what needs to be said. And if the other devotee becomes upset, that's not our problem, and Krishna will not hold us responsible. But for our own personal desires or because of carelessness, we become angry. God forbid we become angry with our spiritual master and we say something. Or one of the definitions of blasphemy, sometimes people ask, what does it mean, blasphemy? So here's a definition. If I'm talking to someone, if I'm talking to another person, another devotee, about a third devotee, and I speak about that other devotee in a way that the other person walks away thinking less of who we were talking about. If we gossip, and for really no good reason, we talk about some things the devotee did, mistakes, or maybe they have a tendency to steal, or they have a tendency not to be strict with the different regulative principle. If for no good reason we talk about that we mention it, and then the other devotee, thinks, oh, that devotee is so useless, such a unadvanced person, that is blasphemy. That is blasphemy. To talk ill about another devotee to someone, that is blasphemy. That is one kind of blasphemy. Now again, if we have the responsibility as managers or leaders, then of course we have to discuss, oh, this devotee, they have a tendency to steal. What should we do about it? This devotee is smoking ganja regularly. What should we do about it? How can we help them? So that's different. That's a different. There's a good reason, and it's for the purpose of assisting that devotee. So we should not be too sentimental about that. Or even we may become aware that an advanced devotee or a manager doesn't seem to be acting properly. We have to speak up. We should not think, oh, if I speak up, it's going to be offensive. But we have to do it in a Krishna conscious way. We can, with a superior, we ask questions that, Prabhu, I'm a little confused. And Srila Prabhupada has said this, and I see you're acting differently. I don't understand that. We have to ask. Or we can go to someone else, another manager, and discuss that I don't know what this person is doing. It doesn't seem right. There were a couple of notable instances in the past, long time ago, when devotees did not speak up, and Srila Prabhupada was upset. He said, you know that this was not right. Why didn't you speak up? There was a wife of someone who was cooking fish in the deity kitchen. So of course that's not right. So we have to speak about that. That's not blasphemy. We should not be too sentimental about that. So we want to be of service to all devotees, especially advanced devotees and preachers of Krishna consciousness and our spiritual master. That will greatly help us. In that Upadesha Amrita, Srila Prabhupada says that, or rather in the Nectar Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says that by serving the spiritual master, by pleasing him, the regulative principles become easier to follow. We will see that there's a mystical kind of transcendental dynamic that we will just feel more enthused. We will feel more happy in Krishna consciousness by doing some service, by pleasing, whatever will please our spiritual master. This isn't some complicated thing. If our spiritual master or another devotee likes a certain kind of food, then bring the food. Think about how we can do something nice for another devotee. It should always be on our mind how we can be of service to other devotees in a small way or medium way or in a big way, whatever it may be. If we're shopping and we know someone, oh, they really like mangoes, let me get an extra mango for that person. It's very profitable, spiritually profitable. So I'll stop here. We can discuss and have questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. We now open up to questions or comments. Are there any questions or comments? Kindly unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you for the great class. I wanted to ask, what if you are in a conversation with a fellow devotee and all of a sudden they just go into blaspheming another devotee? What should you do in that position?
Well, there's a direct instruction for that. We should walk away. And we should not stay in the vicinity. And we can mention, if we want, that this is not good. Maybe you don't know, but this kind of conversation is blasphemous. There's no need of it, and I'm not going to stay here. Sometimes we're in a situation, especially within families, because there may be a family member who is against devotion. And sometimes there's not much that we can do. There are many, many instances. There's many devotees. There's wives and husbands and children who are living within a family, and someone is very critical of devotees. All we can do is try not to say anything or do anything that will cause them to do that, and try to avoid situations where we might hear something that would be blasphemous, and pray to Krishna within our mind. I'm sorry I have to hear this, but there's nothing I can do. Please protect me. It is said that if anyone does not do that, suppose you don't have to be there, and someone is speaking ill of another devotee. If you stay there, it kind of means that you don't mind. If you don't move away, I mean, that's how Krishna looks at it. It's a very serious thing, very serious. So we should remove ourselves from the situation, try and avoid such people. And if we think we can do it, we should mention that this is not right, and I'm not going to hear it.
Sorry, Prabhuji, what was the question? Hare Krishna.
What should we do if we're in the presence of someone who is criticizing, blaspheming devotees? Right, that was it.
Peter Murli Prabhuji, do you have another question, or you are satisfied, Prabhu?
Haribol, yes, I'm satisfied. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. There's somebody called Windows.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Sorry, I don't know your name. Yeah, Hare
I'm
Krishna.
Vraj Kishori. I'm on a different
Okay, Mataji.
computer.
Sorry.
So,
You are reflecting as Windows. That's why. Sorry, Mataji. Continue.
Prabhu, I might have understood wrong, but I thought at one point you said that even if you're doing a deity worship, if an elevated Vaishnava comes along, you should get off and welcome the person.
Almost. I mean, that's no, but close to it.
What if the person is on the altar or of the proper ISKCON temple, and
That they should not, but almost. You should cross the devotee's mind. Oh, I wish I could be of service and greet them and say hello, but I can't. I was just making the point of how powerful is service to devotees. And we should not neglect them in the name of serving Krishna.
but Prabhu, how do we know that person who is coming into the temple room is an elevated Vaishnava? As we can't leave the altar and we can't do anything. Because anyone walking in could be a
Yeah.
Vaishnava.
Anyone, but usually a sannyasi, someone who's wearing sannyas robes. Obviously, that's an elevated soul.
I
Yeah.
see. Thank you.
So yeah, at the first opportunity, we want to offer them pranam.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Josh. Kindly ask your question, comment. Josh, we can't hear you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. You can write your question, yes. Till Josh Prabhu is writing his question, would you give me a second? Let me get my mic. Does anybody else have a question or comment?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. In relation to this, the discussion what we're having now on blaspheming a devotee. Yesterday I was hearing. I posted, in fact, a class of Nitai Sevini Mataji, who is from Vizag in India. So she was saying that, to see fault in others is naturally coming to us, in the sense, we because of our conditioning, we try to see fault in others while we actually neglect to see our own faults. Because it's like, we are conditioned so much that, we are always thinking that we are great, and then we are thinking that, whatever I do is correct, and whatever other person is doing is wrong, and then I am right and he is wrong. So, that's always the case, and then we quite often try to prove our point than to accept their point. So that's a quality we have to keep on working on that quality, and then try to reduce that quality of accepting our faults, and then not to find the faults in others.
Yes, we can pray. We can pray to Krishna and our spiritual master. Please
Correct,
help
correct,
us not
correct,
to
bro.
do that. They may put us in a situation that helps us to become free of that.
True.
If we're too fault finding, then
Yes,
there's a
yes.
saying: you point your finger like this, the three other fingers are pointing back at you.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, bro. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jesh, have you been able to get your mic?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Oh,
All right, there we go. So I had a question on blasphemy when we were talking about it earlier on. So we defined it as basically gossiping with another devotee regarding another devotee. So I had a question. So let's say we're in a situation where we see another devotee doing something, something bad. It could be anything. And we know him, like we know the devotee. Would it be bad, and would it be as bad as like talking about him? You know what I mean? Like, would it be as bad as talking about him if we just decided to turn a blind eye because we do not want any part of it? You know what I mean?
I
Do you
mean,
get the question?
rather than sharing the information with someone else, keep. Would it be better to turn a blind eye rather than share information?
Yes. Would it be bad? Would it be bad to turn a blind eye on somebody rather than like talking to him? Like, would
I
would
mean,
it be?
it depends. It depends. Suppose we're over at somebody's house, and while they're preparing an offering, they drop something on the floor and just pick it up and keep on using it in whatever they're cooking.
Right.
Proper. And if we have any kind of relationship with them, we should be able to speak directly to the devotee.
Right.
Very suitable. Of course, if a whole something, you can wash it off. But if it's something breaking the regulative principles or doing something illegal, it is compassion, it is kindness to the devotee to, if we have the kind of relationship, ask them about it. If we don't have that kind of relationship, then we should go to a parent, a temple manager, and discuss it, that I'm concerned. I see this devotee, they're still drinking and becoming intoxicated. I know that's not helpful. So I'm just sharing this out of compassion because I'm concerned about their spiritual life. So obviously, much better to do that than remain silent.
Yeah. So my question was, is being silent considered blasphemy, or
No,
it wouldn't be?
no one's being blasphemed. Blasphemy is when we speak to another, when we speak directly to someone, critically, totally critically, and harshly and rudely criticize them, or if we're speaking to another person about that, or a number of people about that person, so that they think less for no good reason. We're just talking. Oh, did you hear so and so is having an affair with this man? There's no reason to discuss that with other people, but we should
Right.
go to someone suitable and mention the concern. That's the proper thing to do. I don't believe being quiet in and of itself. That's negative on your care, especially if it's kind of serious. Does that make
Yes.
Now let me make a point. It's said that in Kali Yuga we are given the mercy that even if we think something sinful, it's not held against us. But if we, number one, if we keep having those sinful thoughts, there's a very great potential we'll end up doing. And number two, especially critical thoughts. We just keep critical thoughts aside. And we every time we see a certain devotee, we think some heavy critical thing. That will be held against us because we're not doing anything to get rid of it. And usually we just need to discuss it with someone. We need to find a suitable person that we trust, usually a mentor, someone senior, and discuss it with them. That I don't know what to do. I just have these critical thoughts and I don't know what to do. And we'll get advice what to do. Is that helpful? Please ask anything to clarify. It's a very good question.
Yeah, that it was helpful. That was helpful. Answered my question.
Hold on.
Alright. Alright, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Madhurupa Mataji, would you like to ask a question?
Yes. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Okay, so I just wanted to ask, like, like when we are going to the temple since many years, we become like a very close friends with each other, and like our friendship, like we have so many ladies like Mataji's group and all that. So sometimes that happens that we don't blaspheme or do anything and do I mean talk anything about someone's devotional service and Krishna consciousness, but we sometimes it happens sometimes that we talk about their personal life or their finances or their jobs or like that matters. So is that also blaspheming?
It could be. Krishna, God is in our heart and he knows our purpose. He knows our intent. He knows exactly where we're coming from. And we're social beings. And so we talk social subjects amongst ourselves that, oh, did you hear someone lost their job? They're really struggling financially. So that's just ordinary conversation. And at least from our side, it should be done with concern that, oh, I wonder if some way we can help them. Or just simply to mention, oh, did you hear so-and-so lost their job, or someone's daughter failed an exam at the college. That's just conversation. But each of us should be careful about our inner mood. And if we see that there's some motive in our heart, then we should be quiet. Because Krishna knows we're saying these things to criticize. Usually we know why we're saying something. Very often gossip is not always, but gossip and social conversation comes because of either being bored or same thing, but to attract attention. Someone's feeling lonely, and they know, start talking some hot news in the community, people will gather around me and I'll get attention, to get attention. So, these things are normal to any group of people, but we have to be careful about our intent and that it doesn't go too far.
Oh, yeah, right.
Does that help?
Yes, yes. Thank you so
Yeah, a
much.
lot
Hare
to
Krishna.
do with intent. Like we were speaking about a manager or a parent disciplining or speaking kind of strongly to another devotee. It is our intent. Krishna knows our intent and our purpose. And if the other person does not appreciate or remember, that's not our fault. Of course, we can, just like the example is Lord Chaitanya's father. When Lord Chaitanya's father would discipline Sri Chaitanya, he would say that, or Srila Prabhupada's father, it was done gently, that this hurts me worse than it hurts you. I don't like doing this, but it is my duty. I don't want to say something or deal with you in a way that you're not happy, but it is my duty and I apologize. So if we put it like that, there is no fault.
Yeah, means right. Sometimes we are not talking, but someone is telling us some stories like this happened and that happened. That time,
Yeah.
what to do? Like, do we have to leave that place and not?
If we feel like it's too much, we can excuse ourselves. That it's nice
Okay.
to do, I need to tend something, and we excuse ourselves.
Mm.
Or if we feel we have the kind of relationship with whoever, we might say, I think we've discussed enough about these devotees. Why don't we discuss something else? Change the subject.
Oh yeah, right.
We have to remind each other because we forget.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, are there any more comments or questions? Okay, there are no more comments or questions, and we are here.
Can I say
yes.
something, Kirtikaji?
Okay, Sandra.
Prabhuji, that whenever I have said something to someone, really in some really vindictive manner or whatever, 2-3 days after the event, I come back and I realize that whatever I was saying to them, I have done it in one way or the other myself. And that always reminds me of a story which was narrated, I think, about Jesus Christ, that when people were pelting stones on a lady, and then Jesus Christ said, I think she was a prostitute or something had happened, and Jesus Christ had said that only those who, I think, pure-hearted or have never committed any such crime should pelt stones on that lady. And I think there was no one after that who could think that they could pelt stones at them.
Yeah. Yes. I have situations where I said to someone who was very, very critical, I said, for myself, if I ever come to the point that I never make any mistakes, then I'll start pointing out other people's mistakes. But I haven't come to that. I make mistakes regularly. And I was hoping that the person would understand, But this opens up something very important, that what do we do? What do we do if we lose it? That we just start speaking really angrily at a devotee, and obviously it's hurtful. We should ask forgiveness. This is the remedy for Vaishnav aparad, that we very humbly go and admit, I dealt with you in a wrong way. I'm sorry. and I ask your forgiveness. Only the devotee can forgive us, especially if it's a grievous offense or with our, we must do our very best. If only within our mind, we should request, we should admit our mistake and ask forgiveness. There's no other way to clear Vaishnava aparadha. Krishna will not forgive us unless the devotee forgives us. There's that very famous story of when Durvas Muni cursed Ambarish Maharaj, and Lord Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra was chasing Durvas Muni. And Durvas Muni went to Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha, and Lord Narayan said, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. You're going to have forgiveness from Ambarish Maharaj. You know, such a serious thing, especially with, you know, very significant offenses, physical offenses, very abusive speaking and angry words. We have to very humbly ask forgiveness. There's nothing that will ruin our spiritual life sooner or quicker. If you want to commit spiritual suicide, blaspheme devotees, especially advanced devotees who are fully engaged in Krishna conscious activity, whether they live in the temple or not. Any devotee who's, you know, very much absorbed in living their life in devotion to Krishna, it doesn't matter where they are, even another religion, anyone who's really devoted to God, we have to be very careful. We shouldn't think, oh, these Muslims, this Christian, they're not a devotee of Krishna. Don't think like that. There are many devotees in other religions who have more faith and devotion than some devotees who are devoted to Krishna. Very devoted.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, in relation to this, you know, sometimes when we are dealing with non-devotees, in the materialists, like if we in our day-to-day dealings, we might blaspheme. And one of the devotees was saying that he might be a future devotee. He might be in another few births. He might be a devotee of Krishna, and then we'll be blaspheming a future devotee of Krishna. So I mean, blaspheming even a non-devotee is not very good for us.
No, true, very true. Yeah. A devotee by nature is considerate and polite. You wouldn't want to do such a thing unnecessarily. Of course, if you're a manager in some company, sometimes you have to fire someone and they get angry. But what can you do? You're doing your duty. Yeah. Or sometimes there's a devotee in a temple living and their activities aren't good for the other devotees. And so they have to be asked to leave. You might even need to call the police. And the devotee may be very upset and calling you a demon and so many things. You should not be put off by that. Of course, we want to do it as carefully as we can, but whatever needs to be done, we need to do. It doesn't matter who they are. You know, if a devotee husband is beating his wife, you call the police. You don't think, oh, it's a devotee. They may go to jail. I mean, you may try to something else, but I think you understand the point.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Let me say something else. There's something else on the internet. There are often people who Shanhar Krishna, who speak very ill of other devotees. We should be very careful about that because the internet is so popular, and we may not even go looking for it, but if you're on social media, you're bound to see something sometime that, this devotee, this devotee, we should just pass it by. We have no need to read about it. And if Krishna sees that we're too interested, that is blasphemy. Now, again, I want to emphasize that it doesn't matter who the devotee is. If they're doing something illegal, it needs to be addressed. If they're doing something harmful to the society, it needs to be addressed. This is not a society where we look the other way. It just has to be done in a Krishna conscious way. It's something that I speak about often about on social media, that there are issues and there have been mistakes. There have been some very dramatic, horrible things that happened in ISKCON a long time ago, 20, 30, 35 years ago. And those should, as much as they might need to be addressed, they should. But in a Krishna, not publicly, because this is the point, that people who are not devotees, when they hear criticism of ISKCON, then they wonder, what is this society? I don't want anything to do with it. Which is horrible. Which I have spoken to many people who are devoted, who say, oh, I read this on the internet. What is this? What is that? From long ago. And they're very confused. And I have to take time to, not that I'm complaining, but if it wasn't done publicly, then it wouldn't be necessary. They won't get a wrong idea. So we should be very careful about social media and the internet. There are whole websites that are dedicated to criticism, which does, as I said, it doesn't mean that there may be something that needs to be fixed, but not like that. That is blasphemy. Does that make sense?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
What when we talk about service to Prabhupada and ISKCON, what a disservice to speak in such a way that other people don't want anything to do with Lord Chaitanya's movement. That doesn't sound very good. And if we do read something, that we may read something, so then we should go to our mentor or go to another devotee and say, oh, I happen to hear this. What about that? And find out. Not that we should be dumb, blind robots, but we should just be careful.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much. We've passed our time today, and I'll hand over to Path Prabhuji. Path Prabhuji, is it possible for you to close the session? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for such a nice class. And it is also very popular verses. Sushrushya Sadadharasya Vasudeva Katharuti. So the thing is that you are discussing how the bless of a senior devotee or a bona fide devotee who is supposed to be more Krishna consciousness. That is as much as important. We are supposed to worship the Lord also the same as the worship or doing the service of a bona fide spiritual master. We have many examples, like you are giving the Durbash Ambarish Maharaj, how he is also if we go to the Narad Muni, how he became liberated. He talking in the second chapter in Bhagavatam, remnants of the great sages, he became liberated and all the good qualities come. by only the worshipping of the or the association or service of the great devotee. So we're not supposed to be follow or not supposed to be forget that one in our path. The God or the Supreme Personality, also the devotee are the same important, like a rail in a track. The both are parallel and same. Without one, we cannot progress. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your nice class. Also, very nice answers of the questions. We are so grateful to you and your devoted time. I request all the devotees, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vancha
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Prabhupada ki jai.
जय
His Grace Dinesh Sharan Prabhu ji ki jai.
जय।
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.